Welcome back to the Explainer. If you remember from our last section, we peeled back the layers of the cosmic onion, and we found that the ultimate core of a black hole singularity isn't just some dead point of infinite density. Actually, it's a living, self-regulated entity made of pure intention, or dream. So today, in Section 4, we're going to examine the step-by-step mechanism of how that formless singularity expands from absolute nothingness into, well, everything. And we're going to explore this rigorous, software-driven framework by mapping it to something we all use every single day, a literal computer boot sequence.
Think of the standard chronology of our universe as a system roadmap. We're talking about a timeline that shows exactly when the universe powers up, formats its drive, and installs the software of reality over a 13.8 billion-year lifespan. We're going to trace this timeline, but we'll be viewing it entirely through the lens of what the author calls softwareality. This is the fundamental idea that software invariably precedes physical hardware.
So how does this actually boot up? We're going to follow a very logical system menu through 6 stages. Power on in BIOS, formatting the drive, installing the cosmic OS, the cosmic internet, booting up life, and finally, the dualism loop.
All right, let's boot this thing up. Phase 1, power on and the BIOS setup.
I want you to frame the black hole singularity as the ultimate cosmic server governing all universal creation, operations, and destructions. During the Big Bang's unbelievably brief Planck epoch, we're talking 10 to the power of negative 43 seconds here. 4 foundational attributes manifest to run the BIOS setup. First, we have ecstasy, which is essentially the user's intent, or the qualitative blueprint. Next up is the Hume, a primordial resonance that acts as the universal power source. Third is consciousness, functioning as an IP address, or identity marker for fundamental awareness. And finally, there's Yagmaya, acting as the reality observer interface, basically a system GUI to create those early perceptions of bliss, soul, mind, and energy forces.
Now, I really want to zero in on this idea of the hum. According to the source, this primordial acoustic resonance isn't just random cosmic background static, not at all. It actually functions as a highly structured command line. It transmits encoded signals and information-rich energy packets straight from the central singularity to the quantum field. So, rather than random chance, it's providing precise, deterministic commands that literally shape reality.
And this is absolutely huge, because by suggesting that the hum strips away the idea of random chance in quantum fluctuations, this framework directly validates Albert Einstein's famous resistance to quantum mechanics. You know his famous stance, right? God does not play dice with the universe. Well, according to this text, he was spot on. The cosmos operates on precise code, not rolling dice.
If you're wondering how sound could possibly shape reality, we just have to look at cymatics, the science of visible sound. Cymatics proves how specific acoustic vibrations structurally program formless energy fluctuations into incredibly intricate, precise geometric patterns. In this exact same way, the hum organizes a quantum field. It is the programming language that takes formless energy and turns it into the precise building blocks that eventually become solid matter.
Okay, moving right along to Phase 2, formatting the drive. We are now entering the grand unified epoch at 10 to the power of negative 36 seconds. At this point, the cosmic computer has to establish a distinct environment. It's formatting its hard drive. Remember that fluid, childlike dream of the singularity? It matures here into a firm operational resolution called bliss. This bliss acquires specific coordinates of time and space. It's exactly like setting the system clock and allocating a hard drive partition. This dedicated space-time acts as a protective hardware partition to completely isolate our specific creation from any external multiverse interference.
Which brings us to Phase 3, installing the cosmic OS.
With our drive partitioned and safely isolated, it's time to install the hierarchy of cosmic software. This framework brilliantly translates ancient spiritual concepts into modern computing mechanics. It breaks down like this. Bliss acts as the cosmic kernel, asking why to establish the dream. The soul functions as the cosmic OS, asking how to plan out the execution. The mind serves as cosmic ramp, asking what for the active moment-to-moment processing work. And energy acts as the cosmic network, asking who to provide the sustaining resources.
But here is the absolute kicker. We aren't talking about 4 completely separate entities here. The text introduces the concept of the vertical cascade. It's a continuous evolutionary stream where one single underlying singularity plays 4 distinct autonomous roles at the exact same time.
Think of it like an incredibly talented actor seamlessly playing 4 separate characters in the same movie scene. And crucially, during these early epochs, physical matter doesn't even exist yet. These represent the non-material activities of what are known as causal bodies.
All right, Phase 4, booting up the cosmic internet. Fast forward to the 380,000-year mark, the particle epoch. Here, the formless universe sets up its quantum network infrastructure. The mysterious components of the quantum field map beautifully to a standard internet setup. The Higgs field, that's your internet service provider. Antimatter serves as the server. Dark matter functions as the physical network cables and cell towers. And dark energy is the actual signal propagating through the whole system.
Now this is where it gets incredibly cool. Within this cosmic internet, pure energy fluctuates. And the author argues that the strict logic of Newton's 3 laws of motion applies to these non-material zero-point energy fluctuations long before any physical matter forms. So, by the first law, the Bliss entity of the Higgs field uses hum vibrations to initiate the motion of these zero-point energies for a purposeful creation. By the second law, the Soul entity applies a well-planned force, again via the hum, to accelerate those energies, literally creating particle mass based on that acceleration. And finally, the third law dictates that transforming pure energy into particles in an empty void requires the simultaneous creation of corresponding antiparticles to maintain perfect energy conservation.
So, directed by the precise commands of the hum, this energy essentially gets a sequential dimension upgrade. It condenses from zero-dimensional zero-point energy up to 1D strings and waves, into 2D subatomic particles, and finally pops into 3D fundamental particles like bosons and leptons. These then fuse to create atoms and the 118 elements. The profound takeaway here is that physical hardware, the matter all around us, is simply condensed, software-controlled energy defined by E equals mc squared.
And that sets the stage perfectly for Phase 5, booting up life.
With the hardware and network ready, how do we get from atoms to, well, atom? In this framework, the origin of life is absolutely not some random chemical accident. It's an intentional awakening. The Singularity simply activates pre-installed software within 4 primary elements: nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. This transforms basic, lifeless hardware into your DNA. The nucleotide bases, thymine, adenine, cytosine, and guanine, they act as your species operating system. Meanwhile, the various forms of RNA function as your biological system RAM, handling input-output, system tasks, and peripheral interactions.
But here's the most mind-blowing detail. We can actually pinpoint the exact molecular moment where cognitive autonomy, your individual free will, comes online. During DNA transcription, the operating system code of thiamine, which represents divine bliss, transforms into uracil, representing individual bliss, within the mRNA. This tiny molecular switch is the precise moment your cells are allowed to introduce their own unique sentiment and begin acting autonomously.
Which brings us to our final phase, number 6, the dualism loop.
This entire architectural sequence perfectly explains the strict hardware-software dualism we experience every day. Think about your smartphone. When the formless software of life is actively running, you have a highly capable living biological vehicle. But the second that software, the bliss, soul, mind, and energy, is uninstalled or departs the vehicle, the physical hardware instantly reverts to an inert, lifeless brick. The hardware was never alive to begin with, only the software was.
Everything we've unpacked today operates on this ultimate, endless functional loop. Bliss creates the dream, the soul formulates the plan, the mind executes the act, and energy provides the resource. In this grand functional symmetry, from the vast cosmic void down to the microscopic cells in your body, software invariably precedes hardware. So we have successfully mapped the cosmic boot sequence, and it gives us a concrete, predictable model of a software-driven universe. But a framework is really only as good as its predictive power, right? So what does this all mean for modern science? In our next explainer, Section 5, Testability of Theory, we are going to put this framework to the ultimate test and see how this exact architectural code solves some of the most perplexing, unsolved puzzles of our reality. It's a real game changer, so you absolutely won't want to miss it. Thanks for exploring with us, and keep questioning.